in our meetup on Saturday morning, someone mentioned we should try every now and again, because we're such miserable old bastards, to finish or to have some good news stories along the way. So here's a good news story for you, whānau. Check this out. New Zealand bucked life expectancy trend during COVID-19, says study. The first 2 years of the COVID pandemic undid earlier success in increasing life expectancy, except for a handful of countries, Aotearoa, New Zealand among them. Global life expectancy declined by 1.6 years between 2019 and 2021, reversing the long-standing trend of life expectancy improvement, according to the latest analysis of the Global Burden of Disease study, which sounds revolting, known as the largest and most comprehensive effort to quantify health loss across places and time. Coordinated by researchers at the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington and published in The Lancet on 11th of March, it tracked trends in excess mortality and life expectancy within and between more than 200 countries and territories. But for 7 of those, New Zealand, Taiwan, Mongolia, Japan, Iceland, Antigua, and Barbuda, and Barbados. We got it. Barbuda and Barbados. We'll get there. The all-age excess mortality rate for 2020 and 2021 combined was negative. That's except for those countries. That means the locations experiencing fewer deaths during the first 2 years of the pandemic than expected based on past trends. This is another bit to remember. In 2020, 20 countries and territories had negative excess mortality, while in 2021, only New Zealand and Barbados had negative excess mortality. There's more to find out in here, more top line. Adults worldwide, the COVID pandemic had a more profound impact than any event seen in half a century. It reportedly killed nearly 16 million people worldwide in 2021, accounting for 12% of deaths. Lots of interesting information there. But this is it a golden dagger, silver bullet, to put in the argument for anti-vaxxers forevermore. So I did this today. This is on Twitter. Take that, COVID conspiracy theorists. New Zealand bucked life expectancy trend during COVID-19 study. Now I suppose the worldwide study and stats are wrong because something with vaccine Bill Gates. And by the way, thanks Jacinda. Now you'll appreciate that got a fair bit of response. The first one in there was trials and death. I'm sorry. It's over. I mean, we already knew it was over, but now it's over. That how New Zealand treated COVID was far and away one of the best in the world. And there are tens of thousands of New Zealanders that were there at the end of COVID that wouldn't have been there otherwise. Now, some of them were elderly. They might not be here today, which is sad. But certainly tens of thousands of New Zealanders did not die in the COVID pandemic than would have because of how we handled it. Case closed. Argument over. I think, Chewy, from now on, we won't be punching down anymore because anyone who still adheres to any of those other things, I wouldn't trust to sit the right way on a toilet seat. Yours, sir.
It's a great phrase. Yeah, and look, it's one of those things where you knew it was coming and you're just waiting for it. Waiting for the studies, waiting for the global results and all of that sort of thing. I think most people knew that this was how it was going to play out.
Yeah.
Like I think realistically we've got a noisy fringe of people that are grifting, that have an axe to grind, and who have misled a whole bunch of people.
Yep.
And you can see that they are frantic now because they've got to find another thing to pivot to.
Yeah.
Because they will lose people. They will lose people that are sort of going, I don't think this guy that I've been following since COVID is really telling me the truth. It'll bleed through.
Yeah. No,
it absolutely will bleed through.
And here's one. I want to give you one response that I've got on my Twitter, and this is actually something that is not included in the data, but it's just a really interesting point. So Robin messaged me and said, not to mention that in the second week of lockdown, I got a life-saving operation, and by that I genuinely And by that, I genuinely would have died without it, in a hospital that was not overrun by a surgeon that was not exhausted or terrified. How many of those stories do we have in New Zealand? Remember, we saw in New York literally bringing in ice cream trucks that were cooled so they could load the bodies up into the back of them because there was no room left at the morgue. So that's just really another tangential example that there's probably not showing in the numbers of how this has helped people.
You don't have to go far to find the opposite of that in, say, the UK. NHS got absolutely flattened by COVID.
Yeah.
Absolutely flattened. Their staff got railroaded. They didn't have enough PPE. The scandal that came out about companies that got government money to make PPE and then never did. And it was the NHS carrying the can for the whole thing. My wife's cousin works in the NHS and is a nurse, and she must have had COVID 4 or 5 times in that period. And there were people that died because of that, because their hospitals were overrun, that they were stacking COVID cases in the hallways and that sort of thing. And we can just turn there and go, cool, there's England, a lot more money, much bigger country, more money, that sort of thing. And they absolutely dropped the ball. They tried to do everything too late. They still had an economically devastating lockdown. They tried to play that out and it didn't work. They had they had the worst of both worlds. So yeah, I think, we did the best we could. We were lucky who we had at the wheel at that time, and we were lucky that the decisions that were made were made quickly. And whatever price we're still playing with, just some real broken people with broken opinions and the damage that it's done with people's perception of media and government, I still think it's worth it. It's a net gain.
Yeah. Look, and let's just go to another conversation quickly as we wrap up some super chats. Thank you for them. Because I Care has also said, the tinfoil hat, still won't believe it, Pat. I agree. 5. And that's because they're in a cult.